All right, let's do one Reddit community post, and then we'll call it a day. And at least cover that, so we can at least say we had a successful day. Welcome to another Shawnsetgo video. Today we're going to be talking about some of the community posts that have been going around, but more importantly, the kind of like the overall feel of the War Within. I mean, a lot of people have already established their thoughts of whether they like or dislike it. A lot of people, though, I think have evolved their opinions as time goes on. If you've given it a shot, if you've given it a chance. But of course, if you're sitting here and you're watching the video and you're enjoying it, please give it a like. Subscribe to the page. Right now, we're nearing 1,000 subscribers. That is our main goal. We're still very much a small channel trying to grow. So it would appreciate the follow. But let's get to it. Today, we're going to be talking about, well, a little bit of a meme, but kind of a serious chat as well. And that is, it says, geez, Blizzard, isn't it a bit too early to say that? And this main one says the War Within failed. So it's pretty on point, but I wanted to talk about some of the comments that I was seeing, and it starts out, it says YouTube titles be like, beat me to it. Yeah, I mean, even I put in negative titles, positive titles, etc. Another person says Bellular moments, followed next week by something like Blizzard's greatest patch yet. Yeah, I do agree. A lot of Bellular's posts are very hot and cold. I mean, if you take a look at some of his posts, I would say there's also his second channel, which does change a lot of things too. I think there's a lot of differences between the main channel and the other channel. Like you can see here, like with his main channel, there's a lot of like news and releases. And then if you go to something like clips, you can see something that's a little bit different because it's a podcast, right? You know, made a mistake, some huge secrets in plain sight. So that's not bad. Let's see, next year looks incredible for WoW, finally coming to, or player housing finally coming. So I mean, some of these are kind of mixed in, but like you can see too rushed. I can't get a group. Is it our fault? So like they're mixed in there, but a lot of people I think are exaggerating in this case. And this is not me. This is not me glazing over Bellular. Like I have no connection or relation to Bellular and his content. I mean, I have been following his content, and a majority of you who subscribe to me also subscribe to Bellular. I mean, just looking at my analytics, a lot of people subscribe to him. So it's that being said, the point of this is that we're talking about War Within and whether or not it failed. So like to me, looking at it, I think if you were to look at my first opinions of the War Within, it was basically the story to me wasn't very powerful. A lot of the things they tried to make me care about, I didn't care about. The leveling experience was too quick and not really meaningful. I was leveled before I left like the third zone or the second zone. And I had done very minimal dungeons. Like I wasn't dungeon grinding. It just didn't feel good. But I dedicated myself to give it a chance, and now we've been doing this for a couple months now. I don't play extremely hardcore, but I do like a raid, a raid a week, and then I do mythics every week. I do delves every week, and so I'm doing the content. I'm not like top of the top, but I feel decent about it, and I at least do stuff that does a challenge. So there's stuff that I enjoy, is what I'm getting at. But there's also a lot of things that I think that are flaws, at least on the front end. A lot of things that are still broken and things that don't feel good. I mean, for example, crafting has not felt good, still doesn't feel good, even though it's more in depth than ever it's been. I kind of yearn for the days of old because the current crafting is just something I do not feel like going into. And it feels like you need a full-on dissertation to understand, a bunch of guides to understand. There's no way you're going into crafting and going, I get everything I need to know by looking at the in-game. You're either using a massive amount of guides or outside material to even understand what kind of gear you need and like stat prio and of course like items and like how to acquire them. They're not like easily acquired or acquired in your normal routing from day to day. You have to go out of your way. You physically have to go out of your way and do these things. Like to me, crafting is still very unfun, and I will never I do not see myself getting into it just because it just seems like a whole hassle that it's just beyond my level of casual. So that's what I think about it. But I mean, what do we think about the overall patch? Let's look at some more of the comments. Well, at least they took some time to reflect afterwards. The war within failed. Billions must die. I'm liking the gameplay, but man, Blizzard can't write. The council of this, council of that, all friends holding hands. Look at our mistakes. We must be good people. Yeah, a lot of the things that I've seen have been things along the lines of nobody can just be evil. Somebody has to be good in some way. They have to be goody two shoe, or like even the villains, there's a good version, so you can't just hate them outright or dislike them outright. There's always got to be a I think it's the pet the dog moment where it's just like the game takes itself super unseriously. None of the dialogue is very passionate. It's not ever going to be to the days that we once had, or the cinematics that we once had that we know and love. They're just not going to happen. It's just not going to be as serious as it once was. And I think that's where a lot of us stand. And it, like, to put it into perspective, a lot of you have seen this cinematic, a lot of you know about this cinematic, and you're not gonna have these moments. The moments that are dark, that are serious, that are like intense, that are absolutely gritty and sweaty and intense. You're gonna have a lot of very pun-based jokes, a lot of, you know, funny. And the funny part is, a lot of those cinematics are extremely lower quality than this. Like these are much higher quality than the quality we get now. I think the perfect example is like if you look at any of the Gina Proudmoore like nowadays, like, to me, she has massive eyes. Her model is absolutely hideous. It doesn't look good. It hasn't looked good for a long time. And so you looking back into like the nostalgia, but you just like looking at the war within, I think my biggest flaw with it is that everybody's very kumbaya. The villains are very goofy. At most we get like a Mad Max, like they're like definitely off their rocker, but they're just not a threat. Like, it's just not very threatening. And of course you have villains in the raids, but it's not super crazy. So it says, the last part of this says, we must be good people. Oh, come on. I've read some spoilers about Kirin Tor and it's more bull. Why? Where is the war and the armies like Wrathgate? Where is a new Garrosh in a different way to create some chaos? It's so boring. Yeah, a lot of it's very just bottom of the barrel, not very interesting. I think the main flaw in the War Within right now is just the story quality is just very low, which is very sad considering that this whole World Soul Saga is supposed to be the build up to something, you know, never done before. It's supposed to be something that's changing a lot of things, and in reality all we're doing is just getting very small like cameos in it. And what they end up doing is they go, hey, can you save like 10 sheep for us? Or like, hey, do you mind moving these boxes 10 feet for us? Like, it's very much World of Warcraft, the chores within, and not the war within. I haven't felt a single time in this expansion that it has been a war within. It's felt very, I mean, mainly because the majority of the game feels like it's been 20th anniversary stuff, which has just been kind of filler content. And now like before, I've said that the Burning Crusade and the Cataclysm content like coming back, and that was super cool, and it being classic is super cool. Like, there's a lot of cool parts about it, but at the same time, it's not new content. It's just very like nostalgia based content. It's not very like make you feel content, and it's not war. If anything, BFA felt the most war. At least that was honest about what it was as an expansion, but this doesn't really feel like the War Within. I get the whole, people have told me like the earthen concept, but it's like this that makes the most sense with the lore right now, but they steered the lore that way, you know, like it was never like, this was never It was never about this beforehand. They steered the lore this way about the Earth, and the Earthen are deadpan and boring, and they're not interesting at all. I'm not like, I'm supposed to care about the AI dwarfs. Like, Dark Iron dwarfs are much cooler. Like, if anything, and this is something that I've been pushing, that there's a greater there's honestly a really good allied race I think we can add in, and that is the awesome combination between the night elves and trolls, and that's the new, where is it? Let's see, right here, there it is. The Heroneer, and I put out a post saying, like, it's crazy to think the Heroneer is way better than Earthen, and a lot of people agree. Like, why not go with this one? Like, this is clearly much more well done, well designed, and Earthen are just boring. Like, there's nothing to it. Like, I hope this is more than just an allied race. I mean, it's fine if it's just an allied race, but like, it feels like they leaned into the wrong like race to do for the expansion like focus. So like that's my honest opinion with it. I mean, whether your opinions have changed, evolved, you know, I mean, I think it's good if you're still playing the game and you're still finding something to enjoy. Maybe something that you disagreed with before is fine now, but I do feel like, am I gonna say the War Within failed? I mean, it's been a few months now since release. I don't think so. I think the game has at least held interest and has done enough to keep people invested, kind of keep people within the hamster wheel, so to speak. But I do think that with 11.0.7, people are going to decide whether that hamster wheel is still worth doing or if it's just too boring to do. So I think a lot of people have already left that hamster wheel because it's like, oh, well, delves, they run out their usage, and so I have to do mythics and raids again, and I don't really want to do those. Or they do mythics and they're like, well, I already achieved the rank I want to, so I guess I'm done. You know, so a lot of people don't want to do extra chores to get small minutia of upgrades, and the only people who are still working hard to get those upgrades are the people who have been playing casually, like myself, who don't spend all that time trying to get that early. It's just like, hey, it's not a race. It's more of a marathon. So I mean, like, I think that while the game has not failed, I think that there is still a lot of interesting things with the most recent WoW Direct. There are things that we can look forward to. There's also downsides. For example, the Midnight expansion and all the things that are expected to come with it are not here currently. So we don't have that yet, you know, and we're not going to have that for quite some time. So it's good to look forward to, but a lot of people, either one thing, they've left the game and they're not going to come back until that's released, or two, they go, okay, I'm not getting into this time, so I'm going to stop now and then come back. So you either have people stopping for that, or people who are already stopped who were like, oh, then now they have a date that they're going to come back. So I guess there's a bit of a silver lining in that, but honestly, it's also a lot of waiting. So there's to avoid being overly negative about this. I think that the game itself has impressed me with its amount of content that is good for alts if you enjoy making alts, and I think that's been a lot of their like focus for people, but also I think there's a lot of decent content that like you can get enjoyable content and good gear from a number of areas, and you don't have to do all of it. And I think that's what honestly detracted me from Dragonflight, oddly enough. And this expansion this time around, I think has actually been really good. And I think it's because when I did Dragonflight, when they said, hey, you can do any bit of content that you want, you don't have to do all of it, I went, oh, so I need to do all of it. And I did, and then I got, like, I was doing like, I was doing Mythics content, and I was pushing that hard, and then I got burned out. Like, I burned out so quick. And so this time around, I'm like, I'm not doing content I don't feel like. I'm just not. And I don't feel like doing it. And so I think that's helped me. But I think adjusting to that mindset for people has been a bit tough. So I think a lot of people who are on the side of the game has failed are more of on the side of, where I was back in Dragonflight, and I totally understand it because like it's very easy to become burned out in this game if you're doing all of it, because the game honestly, it kind of encourages you to do all of it because you're maxing out your vault. You're also trying to complete things so you don't have a massive backlog of quests, whether it's reputation grinds or temporary buffs or reputation buffs or XP buffs, etc. Like there's a lot of like FOMO in the fact that if you don't do things, you can miss out on quite a bit. But then, as I've said before, it also inspires, like the FOMO inspires not only people who want to get it so they don't miss out, but also people who go, yeah, that seems like too much, and to avoid disappointing myself, I'm just not going to do that. That way I can do something else. So a lot of people will deter from that because it's just not worth it enough to them. So leaning back into it, and back to the point, the War Within failed. I think with the upcoming Undermined and 11.0.7, I think adding additional hamster wheels to it will burn people out if they're not careful. I can foresee people being interested in the Undermined, like the whole car aspect and those things, but it also could be a massive flop because the only way you make people invest in that beyond just like the initial cosmetic interest is by making how you get gear or how you get acquire things for your alts, etc. Like there's got to be a function or a purpose to those things, and with that, now you have people doing additional stuff. Now I'm doing mythics, and I'm doing world quests, and I'm doing delves, and I'm doing raids, and now I'm doing dailies for this car, and now I'm also like, it's just so much that you could be doing that it just becomes overwhelming. And I think burnout will be the thing that will make people quit the most currently in this game. But right now, I don't think you necessarily have to, but as time goes on, people are getting less and less gear from normals, less and less gear from just doing world quests, less and less gear from doing mythic 3s to 5s, and they're having to do 7s and 9s. So I think that as time goes on, those smaller routes are going to get like phased out of interest, and then people honestly, they don't want to cross that barrier. There's some people who do not want to cross the barrier from normals into heroics. It's just too much. A lot of people don't want to cross the barrier into higher mythics, like in 10 plus and 13 plus. And same thing with delves, even, you know, people don't want to do 11s, you know, it's just not, like, it's too time consuming, or it's just too much for them. So I think as you get to those higher levels, you're going to get people who have reached their personal ceiling. And I think that will be the biggest thing that Blizzard will need to audible for and adjust for. And if they don't, I think the War Within can fail. So hopefully this Christmas season is very fruitful, and I hope for everybody that this is a good holiday season for everybody, and hopefully into the new year, everyone has a renewed like vigor for this, and a lot of interesting things come along. But you know, we are getting classic servers by the end, or in a couple of days now, so there's a lot of excitement that's attached to that too. So you may have people jumping over and, you know, switching from that 11.0.7, and that could be interesting. So maybe that'll be enough. And I hope that's enough. I hope that's enough for everybody. So what are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments about what you're thinking is the main thing that is keeping you in the game right now. And what's the one thing that you think you're the most burned out on? What's the best thing? What's the worst thing for you? What's the thing that you think might be the marker of like a failure of the expansion? Because Blizzard has at least a good job of, or they do a good job of at least maintaining an expansion for the first couple of months, but things will start to dwindle as time goes on. So like, what do you think would be the main thing? Like, what would be the sign? Just population, you know, like are people not participating, or that thing stagnated? Like what would you think is the main thing? So let me know in the comments. Of course, like and subscribe to the YouTube page. We are still growing, and I would really appreciate it if you subscribe to the page, as well as our Twitch page, twitch.tv/Shawnsetgo, where we'll be streaming live Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We'll be playing WoW, and then maybe some Classic as time goes on, but right now just retail for now. But until next time, I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.